All right, so our learning goals for today are to determine the equation of the line in the format y equals mx plus b using information that you're given that helps you find the slope and helps you find the y-intercept. Okay, so we're going to spend the whole day on this. We're going to do several examples this morning, some practice questions, and then several examples this afternoon and some more practice questions. So hopefully by the end of the day, I'll feel like, okay, I can find the slope, I can find the intercept, and get the equation. All right, so the first question. 1a, determine the equation of the line with a slope of m equals -5 and a y-intercept b equals 6. So that one's pretty straightforward. When I'm setting these questions up, I usually set them up this way. Not an equal sign for the equation, but a colon. And then I use all this space to show my work in finding them. Now there's not a lot of work to show in this one because it tells you the slope. It tells you the y-intercept. And we know the equation follows this format where I'm going to replace the slope, m, with the slope number, -5. Still need your x, and you're going to replace the y-intercept with +6 in this case. Okay, so that one, you can put a little therefore in front of the y equals -5x plus 6 if you want. But I didn't have to show any work here. Determine the equation of the line that is perpendicular to the line in part A, but has a y-intercept of b equals -1. So again, I would set it up with, I need to know the m of the line, I need to know the b of the line, I need to know the equation of the line. And any work I have to do, I'll do over here. So what does perpendicular to the line in part A give you a clue about? Yep. Which does the slopes or the y-intercepts? The slopes. The slopes. Okay, so this is a clue. This is a clue about slope. You've got to be able to figure out how the clues are helping you. Okay, so that's a clue about slope. So if I know the slope of this line is -5, that should mean the slope of this line would be 1/5. Okay, so there wasn't any work to show. I just need to understand what perpendicular means. Okay, but has a y-intercept of -1. So therefore, the equation is going to be y equals 1/5 is the slope, so mx plus b, but if b is negative, it's -1. There's your equation. Any questions so far? Any idea? Okay, determine the equation of the line with a slope of -2 that passes through the point -4, 3. I gave us a graph, as well as we're going to do it algebraically as well. Okay, and we're going to do the same idea here. We need to know the m, the b, and the equation. And then any work I have to do, I'll do over here. So, what can we already fill in? Reese. Yep. Okay, then what would you do? Vanessa? Plot the point -4, 3. Okay, how does that help me? Yep.
Now you can use the slope.
Lovely. Nice. So down 2/1. Again. Again. And again, and what's special about this time? Now you have b. So b is -1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now I have m and b, which means I can write down the equation. So it'll be y equals -2 is my slope, x, never forget x, minus 5. So if I'm given a grid, I can do, and a point fits on the grid, I can do what Vanessa said, but we could also do this one algebraically. So if I was not given a grid, or I didn't think of plotting the point and using the slope, I can use y equals mx plus b. Because I know m, and this point is on the line, so it means that when y is 3 in my equation, x is going to be -4, and we know the slope is -2. So the only thing I don't know is the y-intercept b. Okay? So we know it should end up being -5. So let's show that it does end up being -5. -2 times -4 is 8 plus b. Subtract 8 on both sides. And we do get b to be -5. And then I would have come over here, and then I would have had b, and then I could have written out my equation. So if they didn't give me a graph, I would have had to do it this way. Okay? Algebraically. All right, determine the equation of the line with a slope of 4/3 that passes through the point 3, -1. So try it graphically first. Okay, so I see lots of people with m equals b equals equation. M is 4/3, 0.3, -1. Okay, so that's my point. Remember, you always double check a point. So from that point, we're going to rise up. Rise is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it does go right on corner. So this is my y-intercept. It's right on the y-axis at -5. So my equation should be y equals 4/3 x minus 5. Algebraically, so we take our point, label it x and y, we take our slope, and we know that they have to satisfy our equation of a line. So if we put y in for y, x in for x, m in for m, the only unknown will be b, and we'll be able to calculate it. And we can do that because we know 3, -1 is a point on this line with this equation. So when x is 3, y should end up being -1. Okay, and then we see what b has to be and make it work. So we can replace y with -1, m with 4/3, x with 3, and there's our only unknown b. Multiplying fractions, that's the easiest operation. Just remember that if you've got an integer, you can make it out of 1. Multiply the tops together, the bottoms together, and then see if it reduces. A lot of times it will, and you'll get an integer rather than a fraction still. So does 12/3 reduce? Yes, 12 divided by 3 is 4. And then how do I get b by itself? Reese? subtract 4. Sorry? That's what, oh, there's a spider? Okay, get up. Where is it? Oh, yeah.
No, I'm not touching.
Leave it alone.
I'm not touching the spider.
If someone has big red spider, does someone want to get rid of it? If she's got it, it's for sure not there. It's for sure not. No, it's not. No, it's okay.
You don't get on for a fire and you don't kill you with the bite.
I mean,
It can be from under there.
there's a lot for them.
Arachnophobia. It's right here. It's our
Black with
I know how that feels. It doesn't feel nice. Okay. All right. So we do get the same p-value either way. Okay, which is what we expect to get. Yep.
Wait, is it -1 subtract -4 positive?
Nope, because it's not subtract -4. It's -1 minus 4. -1 subtract 4, not subtract -4. Okay. All right, determine the equation of the line with a slope of -1/3 that passes through the point -2, 5. Okay, so m equals b equals equation. All right, so question gives me m. Is everybody good with that? But it doesn't directly give me b, so this clue must be helping me get b, right? Yep,
You could probably use the equation and put in those coordinates.
you sure can. So you can use y equals mx plus b with the coordinates -2, 5 for x and y, and -1/3 in for n. Okay? And then our only unknown will be b. So we can replace y with 5, m with -1/3, x with -2, plus b. Okay, so I've got to multiply these fractions, top by top. -1 times -2 is +2. 3 times 1 is 3, plus b. 2/3 is definitely not going to reduce to an integer. We've got a fraction. So what are we going to do now that we have a fraction? Your options, yep.
Divide both sides by 3.
Divide
You get rid of the 3. What times?
times, very good. Multiply every single term by 3, and that will. Don't forget to multiply the b by 3. That's what everyone forgets. Asha?
When you multiply fractions, don't you multiply the numerator by the denominator? Each of them with like the other kind?
No. That's when they're on opposite sides of the equal sign. When you're doing like
Oh,
proportions. That's what you're thinking of. Okay, so 3 times 5 is 15. We multiplied 3 by the 2/3 in order to divide up the 3, so we're left with 2 here, plus 3b. So now I've made like a 2-step equation. So if I'm trying to get b by itself, what would be the next thing that I would do to both sides? So again, subtract 2. So now I've got 13 equals 3b. But I don't want 3b, I want b. Carter, divide by 3. And I end up getting B is 13 over 3. So now I can fill in B. So once I know M and B, I can make my equation following this pattern, right? So I'll have y equals negative 1/3 x plus 13 over 3. So therefore, y equals negative 1/3 x plus 13 over 3. Okay, this class loves checking things, so I'm going to show you how to check this on decimals. Okay, remember it goes through that point -2, 5. So we're going to go to decimals and type in our equation. And you guys can do this on your phone. You can just type decimals in and go to the graphing calculator. And then it gives you things to type with. So y equals negative 1/3. You go divided by 3. And then arrow x plus 13 divided by 3. Okay, so it shows you the line that you drew. 13 over 3, we could test out on our calculator for what that is approximately. So 13 divided by 3 is 4.3. Does it look like our y-intercept is 4.3? Yep, it does. Okay. And then what was that point? -2, 5. Let me zoom in a bit here. So negative, I can't see this here, -2, 5 is right there, so it's on the line. I don't know how to click on it exactly, but it is right there, -2, 5. Okay, so you can prove to yourself that you're right, that your y-intercept is right. Okay, determine the equation of the line that passes through those points. So again, we need to figure out M. We need to figure out B, and we need to figure out the equation once we have M and B. Anyone remember how we get M if we know 2 points? Vanessa? Yes.
Over x
This one right here. Okay? So M equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay? So label your first point. So that's going to be the point 5, 9 is going to be x1, y1. And label your second point x2, y2. Remember these they're subscripts, so this is the first x we come to is x subscript 1, y subscript 1. Yep. And then the second point, point 2, has an x first, so we call that x2, and it has a y second, so we call that y2. Okay? So point 1, x comes first, x1, and then y1. The second point you come to, x2, and then y2. So then if you use this slope formula, it will give you the slope if you calculate it, put your numbers in correctly, and calculate correctly. So y2 for us is -3. There's a minus in the formula. y1 is 9. x2 is 9. There's a minus in the formula. x1 is 5. Okay? It's always good to double check that you got the correct numbers in the correct place. Okay, so y2 is -3 minus y1, which is 9, over x2, which is 9, minus x1, which is 5. So once you're sure, now you're going to simplify the numerator. So -3 minus 9, -12. 9 minus 5. 4. See if that reduces to just an integer, or whether you have to reduce it to a fraction in those terms. So you try dividing first. Negative 12 divided by 4. Negative 3. So that goes over here. That's my slope. Okay? How do I get my y-intercept? Asha?
Input the coordinates and the slope into the equation.
Right, so I can choose either point. I'm going to choose the first one, but it doesn't matter which one I choose. So I'm going to choose the point 59 and use the slope I just found and put it into the equation so that the only unknown is the b value. Okay, same calculation again. So I'm going to replace y with 9. I'm going to replace m with negative 3. X with 5 using brackets plus b. Okay, so I just used my 5, 9 as an x and y that belong on the line, my slope, which I calculated. Then I multiply negative 3 by 5. Then to get b by itself, I'm going to
Add 15.
add 15. Good, to both sides. Awesome. So I get b is 24. So I can fill b in. Once I know m and b, I can fill my equation in. So therefore, y equals m, so that's negative 3x plus 24. And you can check this on Desmos, okay? So again, we can go to Desmos, negative 3x plus 24. And I'll rein it in here. What points was it supposed to go through?
24.
What were the 2 points? No, the 2 points they gave originally.
9,
Okay, 5, 9. 5, 9 is, yep, right there. And what was the other one? 9, yep, that one's right here, 9, negative 3. Okay, so you can check your work using Desmos, which is good to know for you guys. All right, number 6, determine the equation of the line passing through the points. Okay, it's just like the one we just did. So I'll put m equals b equals equation. And I'm going to start off. So the first point has an x and a y. Every point does. This is x1, y1. Okay. My second point, x2, y2. So for me, y2 is negative 1. I just subtract in the formula. y1 is 9. x2 is 2, minus in the formula. x1 is negative 2. Negative 1 minus 9 is negative 10. 2 subtract negative 2 is positive 4. Does 4 go evenly to 10? No. Can I reduce it? Yes. Yep.
Can you still put it as a decimal if it's just like 1.5 or something?
Technically, but you'll find on the EQAO questions they always leave them as fractions. So you're. But if it was at like 2/3, you can't. Okay, you can't put approximately 0.7. It has to be exact. In this case, negative 2.5 is exact. So negative 5/2 is my slope. How many people got negative 5/2 for their slope? Okay, about 2/3. Okay, so some of us are still working on slope. All right, now we're going to find B. So we choose one of these 2 points. It doesn't matter which one. Okay, I'm going to choose 2, -1. Numbers are nice and small. For my x and y, you may have chose -2, 9. Doesn't matter. We'll get the same answer. And our slope is -5/2. So I'm going to use y equals mx plus b. And for me, my y is going to be -1. And x is going to be 2. Then I have to multiply the fraction by the integer, so top by top, bottom by bottom. Then I see, does 2 go into 10 evenly? Yes. What do we end up getting? -5? Want to get b by itself, so what do I do to both sides? Yep,
Plus 5.
add 5. So I end up getting b being 4. So no matter which point you chose, you should have got b equals 4. How many people were able to work through and get b equals 4? Good. Okay, now you have both m and b, so now you just have to write out the equation. So therefore the equation's always got a y equals the slope number, -5/2 times x plus 4. The y-intercept. Okay? Any questions? Yep.
How do you get -5?
How did I get -5? -10 divided by 2. So always check to see whether the denominator goes evenly into the numerator limit, otherwise reduce. Any other questions? Drop a negative. Okay, number 7, determine the equation of a line that is parallel to this line, y equals -2/3 x plus 5, and has the same y-intercept as the line 3x minus 4y minus 12 equals 0. So we want to get our m, our b, and our equation. And our clues are getting a bit more cryptic here. So how does this clue help me? Does it help me get M or does it help me get B? Yep. It gets me M. How does it get me M?
Since it's parallel, it would have the same slope.
Awesome. Same slope as is what parallel means. So what's the slope of this one and how do you know?
-2/3.
And how do you know that?
Because it's 1 next to x.
Yep. So this one's also going to have the same slope, -2/3. So that first clue was about slope. Okay? The second clue has the same y-intercept as this line. What's that clue about? Daniel. The y-intercept. Okay, so the b value. If I know the y-intercept of this line, it's going to be the same for this line. So how do I find out the y-intercept of this line? Yep.
You have to rewrite it into y equals y. Y equals x.
Yes, I can rewrite it into the form y equals mx plus b. So I can get y by itself, and then the b value will be the y-intercept. Perfect. So I can add 4y to both sides. Divide every term by 4. Make the slope jump out in front. See if 4 goes evenly into 12, it does. Okay, Reese, so once I've rearranged it like that, how do I know what the b is?
It's -3.
It's -3. Okay, which means that my slope for the line they're asking me about, sorry, my y-intercept for the line they're asking me about is also -3. Okay, So now I know the slope of the line they want me to find, and I know the y-intercept of the line they want me to find, so I can write out its equation. So its equation is going to be y equals negative 2/3 x minus 3. Okay, so you got your work on one side organized, and then you've got your things that you need to get on the other side. Okay? And every time you get one, fill it in until you've got M and B. All right, number 8. Determine the equation of the line perpendicular to that line going through that point. So we'll start off with M equals B equals equation. And then we have to start. So think about the clues and which clue you would start with and what you would use it for. Think about the clues, which clue you would start with and what you might use it for. Anyone got an idea of what clue they would use to start with? Yep.
We could rearrange the equation.
So you're going to use this first clue first. And how's it going to help us?
Because it'll give you like the line that, then you can rearrange the slope. I can't quite word it.
It's a slope clue, right? So if I know the slope of this line, I can flip it upside down and change the sign, and I'll have the slope of the line I want. Okay? So in order to get the slope of this line, what would I have to do? I want the slope of this line. Yes. Reese.
Y equals M.
Yeah. So put it into the form y equals mx plus b. So remember the invisible 1, so the 1/3 jumps out in front of x. So now I know the slope of this line is 1/3. How does that help me with the slope of the line that I'm making? Is it going to be 1/3? Yep.
You find the negative reciprocal.
Yep, negative reciprocal. So if the slope of this one's 1/3 and this one's perpendicular, the slope of this one's going to be -3. Okay? Not the same, that would be parallel. Perpendicular means flip and change the sign. So 3/1, -3/1 is just -3. All right, so the first clue helped me get slope. So the second clue must be helping me get the y-intercept somehow. How does the second clue help me in getting the y-intercept? How is the second clue going to help me get the y-intercept? Reese.
And then you do it algebraically with the 2 points, your x and y, and then
Good. So I know a point, and I know the slope, so I can use y equals mx plus b, and then use algebra, sub in y, x, and m, b will be my only unknown, and then use algebra to figure out b. do it correctly, you'll get b equal to 5. So then your equation is going to be y equals negative 3x plus 5. So each one of these is like a puzzle, okay? It's a problem. You're giving clues and you have to figure out how to use the clues to get the m and the b, and then once you got the m and the b, the equation part's easy, okay? But it's not